No worries, Gnarly. Good to see you back. So that's progress, Gnarly. Getting organized. Slow and steady, remember? Organizing your thoughts is a task. Organizing yourself, so to speak. Getting ready to move is equally as important as the moving itself. To have everything in order. You know, you're going away on a trip, for example. Well, spend time getting your shit ready before you set off, you know? Ah, interesting. That reminds me of some instruction I saw once from a Zen monk when he was trying to teach his monks, and that means the monks that have chosen to become monks under him. So he's their guide, yeah? He's their guide. They are his responsibility to help. He's like their dad. Anyway, he's trying to teach them about the path towards peace. And he wants to impart a lesson upon them to help them walk the path towards peace. And so he knows that particularly, maybe it's not all the monks, it's definitely not all the monks, but it's some of them, probably just a couple, maybe a couple of the newer monks, and by newer that means, you know, within the first year or two, maybe. And they get really... These monks have been trying to convince him to get a dishwasher. Because, you know, they say, look, we've got all this money. People donate all this money. We can afford a dishwasher. All these people come to eat for retreats, and there's 60 dishes, 30 bowls, 40 cups, knives and forks, the whole deal. Get 5 dishwashers, you know? And in their head, that makes sense. More efficient. But this master, he knows this is a perfect opportunity to help these people get better at walking the path of peace. So he gives them some instruction. And he says, to get really good at walking the path of peace, what I want you to do, and this is like a personalized offering to those particular monks. And he probably passes this on. In fact, this story does get passed on to the lay people who come on retreat. And he says, what I want you to do is, when you take these plates and you're standing at the sink, these are Buddhist monks, Zen Buddhist monks, and what I want you to do is, when you have this plate or these bowls in your hand, and you have the cloth in the other hand, I want you to imagine that as you wipe this plate, that you are cleaning the body of a baby Buddha. So you, especially as a Buddhist monk, like the Buddha is the ultimate entity, you know, the most holy human being to have ever walked this earth, essentially. At least that's how a lot of them see him. And, you know, it's within their tradition that they have to totally revere and respect the Buddha. So imagine that you, as a Buddhist monk, have to... It's your responsibility to wash the body of the baby Buddha. How gentle, how mindful, how slow and cautious and careful would you practice this cleaning the body of a baby Buddha? And I want you to wash dishes in the same manner. And he's given this particular instruction to those people, those monks, because specifically they have this issue around doing that as a job. And yeah, they want to rush to get through it, to get back to their meditation, you know, which obviously becomes a barrier to peace. You then end up seeking a place to go and meditate all the time, and it's very rare, especially in the modern world, or under unless under very specific conditions. Very often you have jobs to do, you have places to go, you have meetings to get to, you have responsibilities to keep. So these practices must become like, well, it's not that they must become, but if you're wanting to eat the food of awakening through practice and cultivation, then these moments are perfect opportunities to go slow and to walk softly, like walking on the body of the Buddha, stepping over his body, or, this kind of attention and focus. So it just reminds me of that. How impatient you get when folding laundry. Yeah, good time to practice. My whole computer monitor was resting. It's on a very unusual kind of desk, and it's just a small little stool table type thing, really. Looks like the sort of thing you might take camping in the 1950s or something. And so it all folds and locks in. And I just noticed that it was only just resting on a slight edge of the wood. We were this close to calamity. That would have been funny to catch on live stream, wouldn't it? Oh, nice. Yeah, absolutely. Me too. It's that's the thing about real practice. When you slow down enough, the most simple mundane tasks are infinitely pleasant. The most simple brain dead tasks are the most enjoyable, honestly. And my teacher said this too to me. His favourite thing in the world, and I was just immersed in this a moment ago. He told me that his most favourite thing to do in the world is to sit. This is a monk, mystic, is to sit in front of the fire. And what that really means actually is to sit and be totally present, to just sit and be totally present. The Buddha called the world a fire, a raging inferno actually. But the simplest thing you can do is to just sit and be aware. And yeah, imagine being able to be totally comfortable and content in your life, just sitting without any particular thing to watch or do. To just be present. If you could become so content and happy with that one exercise, if you want to call it an exercise, that one element of your being, then everything else is a bonus, isn't it? All of the joys, all of the pleasures, all of the fun things to do in life, it's all a bonus, because even when those things aren't there, you are absolutely, perfectly at ease and content, and feel no desire to run away and distract yourself from that moment. So I'm sure Carl Jung was getting towards the same mind. I haven't looked much into the specifics of his awakening. I know of it, and I know of his inclination towards deeper psychology. But I don't know, maybe I read it once upon a time and I can't remember it. the specifics of exactly what he experienced. Well, when we introduce people to the idea of conscious cultivation, we first introduce the idea of a discipline, a physical discipline. We use Kung Fu, and among others, but that's our primary means of discipline early on anyway, in the kind of training period, because to have a job to do, to have given your body a job to do, which is physical and involves timeless action, that means action, a task without time. You can let go of time. Chopping logs, like you've mentioned there, for example, to just go and do that and have no time limit and just be immersed in it, to give your mind something to focus on. There's a number, obviously, and actually anything physical that you can do, but things that are less psychologically engaging are best while you're trying to get established in presence, or deeply established in presence. Things like chopping wood, sweeping, mowing the lawn. You can take it to an extreme in some particular schools of Zen. When it's time to mow the lawn, they give you a pair of scissors. There's no rush after all. They don't care about the result, it's the process. Almost the longer it takes, the better, you know? But some people take it to they go a bit overboard. They start chopping one piece of grass at a time. Anyway. Whatever you want to do, I suppose. Sure. Yeah, literally any experience, really. Mind is a slightly different phenomena. Mind can't be... Hang on. Mind is unconditioned mind itself. Do you know of, I think it was Jung too, who talked a little bit about the merging of the conscious and the unconscious, or the merging of the conscious and the subconscious. So there is a way of merging the two, so that you become totally conscious of your subconscious, at which point it's no longer subconscious. Yeah, he was an interesting character. He was obviously very much into the exploration of consciousness. Mind is only subconscious if you're not looking at it, or rather, if you're not looking into it. People look at life through the body and the brain for a long period of time, and so the mind becomes conditioned. The contents of the mind become conditioned within that dimension, meaning it's temporarily conditioned to be that way. But at any point, it's possible to totally release that gathered conditioning, at which point the unconditioned is realized. This is hard to get your head around. It's very conceptual. The language is conceptual. But essentially what it means is that you can get stuck in the conditioning of your experience. Given the nature of how the mind functions, it's possible to get stuck. Some people think this experience we're having is called a soul trap. I don't know if you've heard of that. It's a new concept to me. It's something I've only just heard pop up in the last probably about 6 months. Also, in another way of explaining it, there is this element of karma and reincarnation, right? And some teachers have explained in the past that the goal of the enlightenment process is to annihilate karma, to be released from karma. So this means, just that alone, if you look into that reality, into the existence of those principles, means, or reveals rather, that it's, as a mind, as a being, it's possible to get stuck in your own creation, imprisoned, because the mind becomes conditioned to be so habitually focused on some small elements, some particular form, a body, for example, or a thought, or a feeling. And so you get stuck on it. It's temporary, but still, it's possible to get stuck in that. And so, through a simple redirection of attention, that can be abandoned. The prison, the apparent prison, can be escaped. Escaping the matrix is another way that people these days are trying to talk about it. But they have the wrong idea of what the matrix is. They don't realize the matrix is their own psychology. They think the physical world is the matrix. But it's not. The matrix is your own psychology. The physical world isn't real. The physical world is actually immaterial. It's just a perception. Am I going off track here? I'll carry on a little bit. To perceive a physical dimension of life is just a perception. If you drop the perception, the whole world disappears. That's not the matrix. The matrix is the perception part, and people get stuck in their perceptions. And then the psychology, the thinking that arises from that perception, they get stuck in that, and then they think various things, lots of different things, which is all insane. But the good part about this situation is, as with the mind, it can be conditioned into repeating patterns and cycles, cyclically repeating patterns for 1,000 years, 1,000 lifetimes, 10,000 lifetimes, and then At any point, if there is enough energy, I suppose is one way of putting it, gathered, cultivated, or suffering too, that also does the job. It can release itself from that conditioning, but it has to be able to let go. Well, yeah, quantum mechanics is another language for the nature, for the way things work. It's kind of the newest religion. It seems to be the closest that science yet has gotten to religion, because it's about a way of describing the most fundamental elements of matter, energy, what they think of as reality. It's attempting to describe reality, which is what religion tries to do. How things came into being, and how things are, etc., etc. Yeah, it's quite interesting. But it's just another language to help explain the functioning of reality. But it's much better than it's much better than religion, because it's observable, at least up until the point where it becomes theoretical. It's evidential, you know, up until the point where it becomes theoretical. So the mind conditions itself. The mind isn't conditioned by reality, but the reality is. The reality of experience is mind conditioning mind. Mind conditions itself, and thereby, and so therefore, it can uncondition itself by releasing its own contents, by releasing its own attachment. This is the thing about suffering that people don't realize, or, well, they do eventually. You're the one doing all of this. All of it. Everything, every bit of it. Every bit of this life, all of it. Your life, my life, life everywhere. It's mind doing that. So there's nobody to blame, and there's no possible way that anyone can imprison you, hurt you, cause you problems. Only within the illusion of separateness is that possible, and that's an illusion. That's not real. But if you don't pierce deeply into that reality, or the truth of that, I should say, then it's possible to go on thinking that other people are imprisoning you or attacking you or hurting you. This is the thing with this soul trap. Sorry about that squeak, I meant to mute the microphone. I've got a squeaky boom. This whole thing about the soul trap, one of the main elements to the theory is that when you die, if you go into the white light, it's a trap. And this white light has been established by highly advanced extraterrestrial interdimensional beings who want to imprison your soul within the matrix again, within the world, because you are essentially a resource. Instead of the term like a human resource, you are a spirit resource, and if they can trap you back into the physical dimension, then they can use you for their programming, you know, for their programs or whatever it is. I don't look too deeply into it, but I look enough into it to see what people are getting stuck on and what wrong perceptions they have to have in order to believe what it is that they believe. And so there are many similar theories about some sort of malevolent force that's manipulating you, controlling you, wants to hurt you, could possibly hurt you or control you, etc., etc. Anyway, it's more of the illusion. It's all mind conditioning. Mind, which is your mind, you doing that. And so it's within your power to undo that, to let it go, let it all go, let it dissolve. No matter what fantastical, amazing, fascinating fantasy you have conjured for yourself, you just let it all go. I know about Plato's cave. Aliens, yeah. Funny thing about aliens, though. Oh, it's quite a deep. There are many levels to it. Really, quite amazing and wonderful elements to it. Advanced consciousness returning to the planet. Doesn't really want to interfere, but it's here. It's like Big Brother coming to say, you know, how's it going down there? Are you guys alright? Shit seems to be getting a little bit out of hand, little bro. Do you want some help? But obviously, the mainstream of our way of life is totally fucking corrupted. Totally, absolutely fucking corrupted by anxiety and egotistical and narcissistic fear. And so, here's the thing about trying to help someone. It's possible. Which way should I approach this? If you are an advanced Chat just reconnected. And I think we were just getting good. Alrighty. That's gonna do for now. Anyone watching? Keep an eye out for another stream. Maybe a little bit later on. Otherwise, see you around. See you, Gnarly, if you're still there.